what goes up.
Oi, Marie! Oi, Marie!
Deep in the heart of Texas.
The shadow knows.
I bet it's Manischewitz.
No, lady. I buy strictly American.
Time now for spinning my dad's vinyl. Here with all his skips, scratches, and pops is my dad, Frank Vaccarello.
Thanks, sweetie. Thank you for tuning in to episode 209 of Spinning My Dad's Vinyl. And welcome to the last episode of Season 4. You know you can get close to New Year's Eve and not have to listen to Guy Lombardo, right? We are going to finish out 2024 on a really upbeat note. In fact, there's nothing like that two-beat music to send us out dancing. Our featured artist has a slightly more famous brother, but he certainly made a big name for himself as well. And on this record, he features music from the Big Easy, which was among my dad's favorite styles. So, get ready to hear some energetic New Orleans music in Volume 209, Dixie Dorsey. What a great way to get this party started. Jimmy Dorsey and his original Dorseyland Jazz Band with South Rampart Street Blues. That was written by Andy Razoff and Paul Denneker. Okay, why this record for this episode? Well, I've been a big fan of Tommy Dorsey for years. I knew he had a musical brother that he had formed a band with, of course, but Jimmy wasn't out there recording with the Frank Sinatras of the world. And that's just it. Jimmy was performing in the shadow of his big brother, but many critics think that Jimmy's band was extremely underrated. On an earlier episode, I featured an album where they performed together, but this record is letting Jimmy shine with his own band. Tragically, the other thing these brothers had in common is that neither of them reached their mid-50s. Next up is a Dixieland standard you've heard a couple of times on this show. Jazz Me Blues, written by Tom Delaney. Now let me tell you about my dad's vinyl I am spinning for this episode. Jimmy Dorsey and his original Dorseyland jazz band, Dixie by Dorsey. It's on the Columbia label, number CL608. It's a vinyl LP format, a Hollywood pressing. It was released in 1955. Its genre is jazz, and its style is Dixieland. We will hear 6 of the 12 songs on this record. The back cover is filled with liner notes, mostly the story of Dixieland jazz, but there is a paragraph about this record specifically, plus the first sentence of the notes. They do mention Dorsey. In this collection are new editions of 12 sturdy Dixieland favorites, vigorously and brilliantly played by Jimmy Dorsey and an aggregation known as the original Dorseyland Jazz Band. Here are the echoes of that music in exciting, infectious reprisals by Jimmy Dorsey and his superlative group. The dazzling variations, the relaxed, easygoing atmosphere, the technical proficiency are such as might have been heard any night in New Orleans some years ago. Here they are for you to enjoy now, reminders of the vastly entertaining and expressive music of the Dixieland style. All right, let's see what prices this record is being sold at on Discogs.com. $7.59 for a high, a 50-cent low. That gives it a $1.93 average and a $1.50 median. It was last sold on September 19th, 2024 for $2.99. eBay had them in the $5 to $10 range, and so did Amazon. My dad's record, the record itself, is in fair condition. There's not much hiss or crackle at all between the tracks. The surface is in pretty good shape too, just a couple of spots here and there. However, the cover is another story. It's in poor condition. It has an odd plastic laminate along the opening that is starting to fray. In fact, just within the last few hours, I've accidentally peeled off a couple pieces of that plastic. I think the original photograph by Hugh Bell is odd. It's a hazy black and white image of musicians on a stage. You can see a clarinet player, bass player, drummer, electric guitarist, trombone, and somebody's hands that might be playing a piano or maybe even a theremin. No, I'm kidding there. There's no instrument in the photo for that pair of hands. That's why I'm not sure what they're playing. There's also another musician just visible in the haze. I wonder if that's Jimmy. There's a short green marker streak on the back along with some tape along the top edge to keep the cover together. The tape in the front, this plastic on the front, almost looks like it might have been in a library at one point, but there's some things that tell me it was not. By the way, there's no address label on the front either. So I'll value my dad's vinyl at 50 cents. Why, yes, I will go to that party. That's a Plenty, That's a Party, written by Lou Pollack. Okay, now let's learn a little about our featured artist. Jimmy Dorsey was a famous American musician who became one of the most important band leaders during the swing era in the 1930s and 40s. Born on February 29, 1904 in Shenandoah, Pennsylvania, Jimmy grew up in a musical family. His father taught him and his younger brother Tommy how to play music. Jimmy played the clarinet and saxophone, while Tommy played the trombone. Together, they worked hard to become great musicians, eventually forming their own band called the Dorsey Brothers Orchestra. Jimmy's music was upbeat and fun, perfect for dancing. His band was known for playing swing music, a style that was very popular at the time. Some of Jimmy's most famous songs include Amapola, Tangerine, and So Rare. People loved listening to Jimmy play the saxophone, and his music brought joy during difficult times like the Great Depression and World War II. Although he and Tommy sometimes had arguments and eventually went their separate ways, Jimmy continued to lead his own band and made many hit records. Later in life, Jimmy and Tommy reunited and worked together on a popular television show called Stage Show. Sadly, Jimmy passed away on June 12, 1957, at age 53. But his music is still remembered today. He was a talented musician who helped shape the sound of the swing era and inspired many other artists. His songs remind us of a time when music brought people together to dance and celebrate. And that's what we're doing in this episode, celebrating the coming of another new year and the coming of another new season of this show. In fact, I think I'm gonna strut about it. Struttin' with Some Barbecue, written by Lil Hardin, of course, Louis Armstrong's wife. Time now for this episode's interesting side note, and it has to do with a radio first. Jimmy Dorsey had a special claim to fame. He played the very first saxophone solo ever broadcast on national radio. Dorsey's historic saxophone solo broadcast is an example of how he helped shape the popularity of swing and jazz. In 1924, while playing with the California Ramblers, a well-known jazz band of the time, Jimmy performed a saxophone solo during a radio broadcast. This was an exciting and groundbreaking moment because at that time, radio was still a new technology and it was quickly changing how people experienced music. Live performances could suddenly reach audiences across the country. Jimmy's solo introduced many listeners to the sound of the saxophone as a leading instrument in jazz and swing music. Before this, instruments like the trumpet or clarinet were more commonly featured in solos. His performance helped show how expressive and versatile the saxophone could be, paving the way for its central role in swing bands during the 1930s and 1940s. This moment helped solidify Jimmy's reputation as a talented and innovative musician early in his career. The story also highlights how Jimmy was at the forefront of new musical trends. By embracing the saxophone and the relatively new medium of radio, he helped bring jazz and swing to a broader audience. His ability to adapt and excel in this evolving musical landscape set the stage for his later success as a bandleader and swing music icon. Next up, no, this is not a Van Halen tune, but I know the Tijuana Brass recorded it. Panama, written by an unknown artist. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. There are some great Dixieland standards on this record, and Dorsey's versions sounded fresh, even if they were recorded almost 70 years ago. I really liked some of the arrangements I heard. And I know I played plenty of Jimmy Dorsey music on the first radio station I worked at, WBBG in Cleveland, Big Band Grandstand, and much more. And this is one of those album covers that I'm not sure I remember laying around my parents' house or if my dad played it a lot, but I'm sure glad I pulled it out of the stack for this episode. This episode also marks the end of Season 4. I hope you've been able to enjoy this great musical journey I've been on while spinning my dad's vinyl. And I hope you will continue to join me in Season 5. 2024 was a great year of live music for me. It started out watching the Cleveland Orchestra perform Beethoven's Fifth and Schubert's Third. Karen and I enjoyed our usual local outdoor summer concert series in various towns around Northeast Ohio that usually features some really good tribute bands. We saw 5 groups who are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Chicago and Earth, Wind & Fire were together. Steve Winwood and the Doobie Brothers were together. Both of those concerts were at Blossom Music Center. And Jeff Lynne's Electric Light Orchestra at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. We saw Apollo's Fire perform Vivaldi's Four Seasons on the grounds of the beautiful Holden Arboretum. And we were back at the majestic Severance Music Hall earlier this month to hear the Cleveland Orchestra perform Two from Aaron Copland, a tune from Duke Ellington, and one of my favorite tunes of all time, Rhapsody in Blue. By the way, I've already got tickets to see Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass on an Akron stage in March. And although I didn't play Guy Lombardo as a season ender this year, I still want to offer up a toast. Here's to music, which Henry Wadsworth Longfellow called the universal language of mankind. Happy New Year's. Salute. Now, my dad always had a big smile on his face. So, as I wish you a Happy New Year, please remember, the whole world smiles with you. When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. That was written by Joe Goodwin, Larry Shea, and Mark Fisher. I thought that was an appropriate song to bring season 4 of this show to a close. And there you have selections to dance to as we near New Year's Eve of 2024. So thanks for tuning into Volume 209 Dixie Dorsey however you did. If you want more information about this show, head over to spinningmydadsvinyl.com. I'll be back next week with all my skips, scratches, and pops as we kick off Season 5 with Volume 210, Jonah Style. Until then, go with the flow, my friends.